Can't you see? Everyone! They're here already! You're next!
Let's go!
Welcome to the future, where the glass is half full and you'll need new glasses, where you'll be jumping from conclusions.
The past is annulled, and a new future is born!
Never before in history has so much meant so little to so many. AD on the radio.
Got a message from a friend. Staunchly anti-Trump. Not necessarily staunchly liberal friend. Someone who's sort of an in-betweener, common sensist. Individual like me that thinks party politics are a flawed thing. Guy that I have a lot in common with. Who said to me, hey, I've been watching your Facebook. I've been watching your Twitter. I was like, well, that makes me feel a little uncomfortable. I mean, I understand that there's a certain aspect of social media which involves putting your life out there. But the idea of someone watching it, why were you watching it? Well, I wanted to see what you had to say about this whole thing, the immigration ban. I was like, well, here's the thing. In some ways, I sympathize with people that want to go online and let everybody in their circle of friends, seems too strong a word in this day and age, let their circle of acquaintances via the interwebs know how they're feeling about something at any particular time. People feel like they've got a lot to get off their chest. And I am in the luxurious position of having a radio show, a couple of radio shows where I go on the air and I talk about things that are on my mind. And this is where we do that. And if people want to listen, they listen. And if they don't, they don't. But I don't arbitrarily put my thoughts, feelings, and all of the above in my news feed, because there's a certain dehumanization that happens when you do that. There is a certain lack of person-to-person contact. Maybe it's hearing voices. Maybe it's a face-to-face thing. I don't know where it comes from. But, and you and I have talked about this in the past, there was a moment a little while ago. Do you remember when the internet exploded with two very distinct arguments? One had to do with the Confederate flag. The other had to do with gay marriage. It was a period of about a fortnight, 2 weeks, where all people did was argue about this stuff. That's all they did. Online. And I saw this and I watched it happen. And I thought to myself, that's it. I am out. I'm never disagreeing with anybody ever again online. You can go after me. You can troll me. You can... I got no time for it. Nothing good has ever come of it. Nothing productive has ever arisen from people getting into it online. It just does not happen. And it seems petty to be talking about the internet, but it's where the vast majority of the discourse seems to happen in this day and age, so it's a thing that we have to pay attention to. Nothing productive has ever been the result of online arguments. None of that has ever brought people closer together. No amount of being a keyboard warrior, screaming and yelling at somebody about this sort of thing has ever made the other person go, you know, you're right, I didn't see it from your perspective. Gosh, golly and gee whiz, glad we're both on the same page. We should go out. We should hang out in real life, IRL, as the kids on the internet say. We should hang out IRL, have a cup of coffee or a beer, and explore our new friendship, because, you know, before this online argument, I found you to be a distant person that I had disdain for. Now this has actually moved the ball of humanity further down the field, and we get along and we get together and we have fun, and it wasn't this good for the world. No, that does not happen. So I was like, hey, man, I really don't get into it online. Possibly because I have the luxury of another place, my radio show, to get stuff off my chest, but mostly because it's not a productive thing, I don't think. The spread of information is something that you cannot get out in front of anymore. It's an interesting one, but you just can't do it. But there is a reason. There is a reason why, if I had gone online this weekend and weighed in on the situation, I would say, everybody, calm the hell down. Let me share something with you that's going to make you feel a little better. And we'll do that next.
Your destination for stimulation. KPRC, more stimulating talk radio.
Where the left and right come together for fundamental truths. AD on the radio, on Twitter at ADSXE.
Yeah, alrighty then. Funkhauser, where would you say you're from? I mean, I know you're a Los Angelino now, like you're in the heart of Los Angeles, but where, would you say you're from a small town?
Yeah, you know, where strawberries are from.
And would you say that growing up in a small town shaped who you were?
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely.
Do you feel kind of like a fish out of water now you're in the big city and you're essentially at heart a small town individual?
I did for a while. Now I'm just used to all the traffic. You know, there's a few other differences, but that's the biggest one. All the people. Kind of a fish out of the water, yeah.
Yeah. There's an interesting mindset. Well, what's the old book? Country Mouse, City Mouse? You know, there's certain things that make you feel comfortable. I know people from the country that could not possibly get a night of sleep in the city, what with the sirens and the constant barrage of streetlights and just the hum of activity that's going on outside their window in places like New York City, where I've spent a good portion of my life. And then when I go out to the country and there's like nothing around, I'm like, yeah, this is a little unsettling. But it's an interesting one for sure, being from a small town.
I'm originally from a small town in Tennessee. I had to leave that town as soon as I graduated high school. And I mean that. Like, I threw the hat up. I was like 45 minutes outside of town before it even landed. But I go back to see my family sometimes. Last time I went home, I ran into some old friends, some friends that left like I did, and some friends that never left. You tell who they are right away, because they've gained like 1,500 pounds. And their kids have already dropped out of high school. I'm 35. Do that math real quick. They can't. Some of y'all clapping didn't even do the math, so just calm down.
Comedian Billy Wayne Davis on being from a small town and not going places. Speaking of going places, see what I did there? Refugee immigration situation? Yeah. That was what we call in the radio business a segue, and what my program director would call a shaky one at best. But, look. There is kind of, and this is why I've actually started to believe that what we do is important around here. Not because I think, we're so sage and we're so wise and we're such people of the world and we have any real wisdom on these very complex times we're living in, where people seem to be only too happy to apply bumper sticker sized bits of information to things that go much, much deeper than that. I don't think we're especially smart. I don't think we're especially on the ball. But the one thing that we do around here, and it'll probably ensure that Funkhauser and I will live in small places driving old cars for the rest of our lives, because there's not good money in it. But the thing that we do around here that almost nobody else seems to do, and this is why I find us to be valuable and important, is I think we offer a balance, a humanizing perspective on situations, because people are so eager to either utterly condemn and vilify somebody or something or some sort of action or some sort of occurrence in the world, or say that it is the cure-all that's going to fix everything. For people, there is absolutely no in-between. And that's frightening because it's a simple narrative for simple people, and simple people that enjoy simple narratives are simply easy to control. These simple narratives of this is all bad, this is all good. These complete deep shades of black and white have very little to do with the truth of the situation. There's a lot of gray, and in that gray, that's where you tend to find the truth, and that's where we spend a good portion of our time on the show. So let's talk about the anti-Trump hysteria for a moment, shall we? Let's be crystal clear on this one. Not a fan. Not a fan. But the guy couldn't blow his nose without it being regarded as an act of absolute terror, and those boogers deserve a place to live too. I don't know. But the guy literally, with exactly half the population, maybe a little bit more from time to time, can do no right. And for the other half, can do no wrong. There is this crazy exaggeration, this crazy leap to instant hysteria every single time he does something like blows his nose. And this past weekend just gone by, he did something a little bit more pronounced than blowing his nose. He signed the executive order, which was immediately read by a lot of people as chucking out every single Muslim from America. And let's be clear on this. Let's kind of temper the knee-jerk reaction to everything he does with a little bit of, well, let's slow down and examine some facts here. Donald Trump is not throwing all the Muslims out of America. Donald Trump is not banning all the Muslims coming in, as he once threatened to do during his campaign. What Donald Trump is doing is he's putting a temporary ban on any people from 7 specific countries. 7 specific countries where jihad, Islamic terror, acts of Islamic terror are a dime a dozen. And he's doing this until tighter visa systems and I quote, extreme vetting is put in place. Let's get that out of the way. We'll pick up the rest of it next.
You're waiting to get washed away.
Real Radio. Real Radio. 104.1.
Don't get the blues, get all the news. We mean all of you guys out there in Radio Land. All aboard!
He's back. AD on the radio.
Give it up, yeah. Give it up, yeah. Bring this on, come on, come on.
I read somewhere that there's places in America where the open container thing is not going to be a thing anymore. Meaning, if you're driving in the car and you got a bunch of your friends in there, in some parts of America, it's about to be legal that they can get tanked. They can drink beer in the back of your car, and it's not an illegal thing. It won't be a severe infringement of the law to have an open container in the car with you if you're going to be doing that. And it's an interesting move. I mean, look, on the one hand, you sort of go, hey, why can this person not drive while somebody else is getting tanked in the car? That's what limo drivers do, right? Limo drivers, you know, they go out to your prom, limo driver in the front, you're getting wasted in the back. There's open containers, and maybe that's what that dividing wall is, but I never really understood why people couldn't drink in the car. And then, you know, hey, maybe they're getting drunk, maybe they're distracting the driver, all of the above. Those are sensible arguments. And when you're driving a car, it's not just your life or the life of the people in the car with you that are on the line, it's the lives of the people around you. So, yeah, you know, it's an argument that has logical points to be exploited on either side of it. But at the same time, if you take the amount of people that have been killed in automobile accidents where alcohol was involved, and you compare that with the number of people that were killed in America from acts of Islamic terror over the last couple of years, which one do you think is larger? And we're easing up on the alcohol in the car, not getting tighter on it. That's beside the point, but it's an interesting piece of context, I think. Now, back to what Donald Trump is and is not doing. He's not throwing all the Muslims out of America, and he's not banning Muslims from coming. He said he was going to do that, and people went, what the hell did you just say? And I guess he walked that one back a little bit. What has he done? What is he doing? Donald Trump has put a temporary ban on people from 7 countries where there's shockingly high incidences of jihad Islamic terror until visa systems, and I quote, extreme vetting are put in place. Now, the people that voted for Trump are stoked about this. Why? Because this is exactly what he said he was going to do. And you know what? I think a big chunk of Donald Trump's, and this is part of the reason, this is not related exactly to what we're talking about, but this is part of the reason why I think people need to settle the hell down and calm down. Donald Trump made some big promises, and he knew that when you make big promises that seem ridiculous to good portions of the world or seem far-fetched to good portions of the world, like, I'm going to do this. Well, you can say you're going to do that, but you're not actually going to do it. That falls right into the same category as read my lips, no new taxes. That just sounds like campaign garbage, and you're not going to. Well, he knew that he was going to be held to a lot of these promises. He knew that in the first month of his presidency, we will repeal and replace Obamacare. Well, he's tearing apart Obamacare. He's getting to work on the wall. He's putting America first and saying that we're going to bring jobs back to America by putting a tariff on imports from Mexico. And we're going to stop people coming into this country that might do us harm. He is systematically, one by one, making good on all of his promises, or at least appearing to make good on all of his promises to the people that voted for him with these executive orders. So, basically, when something like this happens, there will be a settling. There will be a leveling off. There will be, after an extreme push, a push back in the opposite direction, and things will settle down into something that seems a little less worth getting worked up over. Trust me on this one. But for now, if you heard Donald Trump make a pie in the sky promise that seemed ridiculous that no president would actually do during his campaign, you can more or less bet that there's going to be some kind of executive order that backs that up in the next couple of weeks. This is what he's doing. He's keeping up appearances to the people that voted for him, and he's also doing some of the things he said. Now, here's the stuff that people are all bent out of shape about. Paris, Brussels, places in Europe with lax borders allowed terrorists with suicidal death wishes to get into civilian life, hang out in the towns where they're going to do horrible things in the name of Islam, create body counts in the name of jihad. And oftentimes, these folks were posing as refugees and committed mass murders, horrible acts of terror. You look at that and you start to think, there might be a decent argument here. There might be a decent argument here. Maybe we should do something about our borders. Maybe we should do something about the border between the U.S. and Mexico. Maybe we should open our arms to people, but know exactly which people we're opening our arms to before we let them in. None of Donald Trump's arguments are presented in this sensible fashion. And perhaps if they came out of the mouth of a different person, people would be less likely to react to them in the massively hysterical way that they have been. But I don't think Donald Trump wants that. I think Donald Trump wants to make as much noise as possible with this stuff. He knows the difference between the president that tweets. He met with Rahm Emanuel back in December. They hung out. They talked. So why is he lighting him up on Twitter being like, yo, your city is doomed, and I'm going to send the feds in. I'm going to declare martial law in your city. I don't think he lost his phone number. When he does this stuff, it's a calculated move to create this mass hysteria. It is. But there is, when you stop and think about what happened in places like Paris at Bataclan, in Nice, in Brussels. There is an argument that deserves some serious thought when it comes to strengthening immigration rules and laws and being more careful with who gets into the U.S. Obama did it. Jimmy Carter, the most peace-loving president of all time, he'd have you believe. Was straight up, yeah, no one from Iran here. Thanks. What Jimmy Carter did was on a par with internment camps, Japanese internment camps during the Second World War. It was right up there. So, if these words came from the mouth of someone else, they would have caused less hysteria. Because I think Trump wants to cause the hysteria. But people that want to react very strongly to him because he's him, because they need a villain, they need a whipping boy, I would urge you to temper the knee-jerk reaction that a lot of people want you to feel to go into an absolute outrage with some reality. Just because it came from the mouth of Donald Trump, because it came from the executive order of Donald Trump, let's not condemn it as being unacceptable just because it came from our tic-tac colored president. Let's just settle down on that one for a second, shall we? Stop. These are things that people are passionate about. So before we continue, I want you to do this with me. Take a deep breath in. Hold it for a couple of seconds. Let it out. And let's continue. While the anti-Trump hysteria leads to people missing the point of some stuff, while the anti-Trump hysteria that would lead people to go, blanket statement, everything he does is the action of a crazed, power-hungry madman that doesn't care about anything but himself. Now that we've kind of settled down on that front, let's take a look at what I see as the actual problem. I don't think there's a real solid reason for people with green cards, permanent resident status, to be handcuffed at airports, threatened with deportation, rounded up into groups of people that feel a lot like they are off to an internment camp, from what I understand. I'm not there, I'm not them, I don't know. But it's a tough situation for a lot of people. A lot of people who have done the right thing when it came to coming to America. A lot of people who have worked hard, been vetted, taken tests, jumped through all the hoops in the right manner to be here, now feel threatened and like they're about to get shipped off to a camp or something. That's not okay. That's not what we are. That's not what America is. Now, on the topic of refugees, I don't know how you feel about the war in Iraq. And again, I wasn't there. I wasn't fighting it. I don't know. When I form opinions like this, I try not to form opinions unless they come from a place of experience and understanding. But in this case, there's no way I'm going to have experience and understanding. I'm not in Iraq. I'm not in danger of losing my life. I didn't spend several tours risking everything for the safety and freedom of the people at home that I cared about. So I would never have the arrogance and the hubris to give my take on the war in Iraq in that way. But I do have a lot of friends that are veterans. And when I talk to them about the experiences they went through, the things that they were asked to do, the things that keep them up at night that they were asked to do, the things about the war that they were involved with that they found to be in stark contrast to everything that is moral and legal and not utterly reprehensible, and not an unmitigated disaster and shameful loss of life. I listen to those things when I talk to my veteran friends about that. Would they do it again? Yeah, a lot of them would. Because that's who they are, and they understand that serving their country comes with this lack of understanding about that which you are doing, and that you are following orders. But when I talk to them about the war in Iraq and the domino-like effect it had on the refugee situation in Syria, it seems to me, through the best information I can get, that the war in Iraq, England, America, revenge for a terror attack that made little to no sense, wrong guy targeted, created a power vacuum that was filled by something that is, well, what we're dealing with now. So, we have imperiled people through our country's actions. Make no mistake, we love America. America is the greatest place to be in the world. We are incredibly lucky to be here and experience all the joys that come with living in America. But to the rest of the world, we are known as the globe's deadliest nation, and we are reaping the rewards of that now.
Now, more AD on the radio.
So stuff that predates Trump. Stuff that predates Trump, going back to when any glint of political aspiration in his eye was viewed as a bit of a joke. Until it wasn't. But stuff that predates Trump. This is a large portion of why Syrian refugees are knocking on our door. "9/11 happened. Almost immediately afterwards, the war in Iraq started. Saddam Hussein taken out. Massive power vacuum created. Enter the idea of a caliphate, jihad, and Islamic State that has a big problem with America for reasons that predate all of us. But now, Syrian refugees are trying to find their way into America. And this executive order is something that could end lives. People are being forced to return to places where they may very well be killed. People are being victimized for something that they haven't done, that they've had no control over. And I understand. As crazy and wackadoo as it sounded. Remember the poison Skittle argument? Who was it? Eric Trump? Like, hey, let's say refugees are a bowl of Skittles. And, there's one poison Skittle in that bowl. Do you eat any of them? No, you don't. I get that cold, draconian logic. I really do, and I understand it. And it makes perfect sense, and I understand exactly why people would say that sort of thing. However, if we are to lean on that crutch of American exceptionalism about what makes America great, about who we are, that argument of keeping America safe, that argument about keeping America safe seems to put us at odds with the principles upon which these United States of America were founded, doesn't it? Yeah, it does. Let's be crystal freaking clear about ISIS. They're a problem. They're a group of horrific, brainwashed marauders who hate us, hate everything we stand for, hate that freedom, hate that love, hate that acceptance, and want to take it out. This executive order, and look, I think people need to settle down because I think there will be pushback. There already has been. Trump's going to do a bunch of these things, like I said. Obamacare, the wall, defense spending, I think that'll be next. Because he's going to say, okay, well, we've kind of started something here. These are the actions that I said I would take. I've been taking them. But you know what? It's upset the apple cart a little bit. What's our position with NATO? Not exactly sure right now, so we're going to be strengthening the bejesus out of the military. All these things he's going to be taking massive action on. He's going to be creating executive orders to basically keep up appearances with regard to all these promises that he's made. And I know people are upset. I know people are mortified by the aspect of us sending refugees back to countries where they're going to meet their death. There will be pushback. We will level off, but I understand these are scary times for a lot of people, even the people that are all in favor of it. Big question mark over the future. So people are not relaxed. Nobody came into work today, this Monday. How you doing? Oh, feel great about life. There's some stuff going on in the world that we all go as we hold our breath and wonder what's going to happen next. And ISIS hate us, hate our way of life, want to destroy us, are unquestionably the enemy and need to be fought and combated and killed wherever possible. But this executive order, the thing that Trump did over the last several days, will empower ISIS. It will be the best recruitment tool that they could hope for. It will support their argument, their jihadi argument, that America is waging a war on Islam, not just on Islamic terrorists. And it's also not okay because it punishes people that have been living here for years, decent, law-abiding people who feel like they're being rounded up. Hold on, there was a list of some folks, just for a bit of perspective on who this affects. Sir Mo Farah, he's an Olympic gold medal champion runner. He's got dual citizenship between England and Somalia. He's technically banned from America. He does a whole bunch of his training here in America. Nadeem Zahawi, he's a member of parliament in England. But he was born in Iraq. He's got kids, though, who are at Princeton University. He can't come in. At JFK Airport, only freed after humongous protests, Hamid Darwish, a hero, a U.S. military translator for 10 years, only got out at the last second. This is the level of unfairness. This is what will be remembered, and this is what will add fuel to ISIS's fire.
Boy, you should talk a bunch, but then I've got a hunch that if I step to you, you'd back right down. Can't see it through your bitch, and you're like Kool-Aid. You're just 10% juice.
Fire ants and free thoughts. All the comforts of what we call home. This is KPRC AM 950. Real Texas. Real talk.
There's something happening here, and you should know what it is. The dumbing up of America. Now, more AD on the radio.
Judging by Twitter, Facebook, and ways in which people can contact me over the interwebs while we're on the air, Trump supporters' blood starting to boil a little bit. I was with you when you started off, man, but you kind of lost me part of the way there. Hey, man. Life's not simple. And if you don't hear something on this show that challenges your expectations of how the world works every once in a while, I'm not doing my job. My job, as I've said over and over again, is to bring people together. This is why, like I said, I'm starting to feel as though the work that we do here is important, because every time there is a rift, I do everything I can to bring folks together and heal that rift. The division is what we will be conquered through. The division is going to remove critical thinking. The division is going to stop people from holding our politicians, left, right, center, up, down, whatever, accountable for their actions. The ability to make people see simplistically in black and in white and pledge allegiance to something that a politician says, no matter what it is, that dehumanizes us in that way, will be our downfall unless we manage to do something as simple as agreeing to disagree. Getting along, asking questions, talking to people that we don't necessarily agree with. So if you are a Trump supporter and your blood is starting to boil a little bit because I've said, hey, this is adding fuel to ISIS's fire, this is not doing something to combat the situation, I would direct you back to the early part of our conversation where I said some of this executive order makes sense. When Donald Trump talked about Islamic terrorists yesterday, he said, we don't want them here. We only want to admit those into our country who will support our country and love deeply our people. Anybody have a problem with that? Anybody disagree with it? Let me just say it again. We don't want them here. This is him talking about terrorists. We only want to admit those into our country who will support our country and love deeply our people. So, the intent, understandable. Everybody's going to agree with that. We don't want to let terrorists into our country. The execution, ham-fisted at best. There's parts of this executive order that make sense and parts of it that question the very moral fiber that makes this country great. And by the way, I mean, it's a tired old statistic that a lot of people have trotted out. And you're going to hear it from a lot of people. The two major Islamic terror acts in New York on 9/11 and in San Bernardino. You know where those people were from? They came from Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Lebanon, Pakistan, and Egypt. Not one of those countries is on the list of people banned from coming in. And if you question that fact, well, then Trump's White House will be like, we're basing this on a list of countries, according to the Obama administration, where there's a whole lot of Islamic terrorism happening. So there you go. If you're looking at this whole situation going like, wow, there's a lot more layers to it than I would have been led to believe by reading things on the internet. There's a lot more layers to it than people holding up signs saying no refugees or you are welcome here. These matters go deep. And they cannot be understood and they cannot be solved with, like I said, bumper sticker sized pieces of information. But I am here to offer you the comfort that I found this past weekend just gone by when I started to dig into the situation and look at facts. There are parts of what is going on right now that is absolutely morally reprehensible, that is anti the idea of being American in every way I can possibly imagine. There are parts of what is going on that make a lot of sense when it comes to the safety of our people and those that we love. There will be pushback. There will be pushback like the ACLU saying, hey, you can't hold people with green cards at the airport. There will be pushback like the protests. So many more protesters showed up than people that were stuck at the airport, and with good reason. And you know what? That's healthy, and I welcome it. Peaceful protest, having your voice heard, doing something, showing up, I think is going to become more and more important moving forward. But these things, they will settle. They will level off. And we will, because of America, the people, not the politicians. We, you and me, will force those in power to go through life in a decent manner. A lot of people feel progressively that they're losing hope every single day. In a perverse way that not a lot of people seem to understand, I find myself more hopeful about the future than I have in a long time. Provided we can keep an itchy trigger finger off the button that will send us all to hell. Stuff like this, the executive actions, the executive orders, rather, going to force you, me, all of us to think about who we are, why we believe the things that we believe, and stand up for them. People standing up for what they believe in. So important. I would love it if people would settle the hell down on Facebook and not vilify people with opinions that differ from theirs slightly. That would be a great way forward as well. But standing up and being counted for the things that you believe in, so important. And while a lot of people would argue that we are going to a very bad place at the moment, just from the way we treat one another, I'm an optimist. I see this glass as being half full. And I see people passionate about their country and passionate about what they believe in on both sides of the argument. Both sides of the argument compelling with great points. And I see people declaring their love and the fact that they care for this country more now than I think I remember seeing in my adult lifetime. And people are being forced to take stock and understand who they are and what they believe in. I think that's an awesome thing. Because ultimately, like I said, I believe in you and I believe in me. All right, Funkhauser, what is going on in the news?
Well, I think you just about covered it.
Yeah, that's the news.
You want other news? Crack open the newspaper here and throw some stuff
crack. Let's see what else is going on in the world.
President Trump issued a travel ban on 7 predominantly Muslim countries.
And you know who's angriest about it?
Who?
Funkhauser? You know who's angriest about it?
Who?
Spirit Airlines, causing nightmarish headaches at airports across the country. That's their job. Go on.
The NBA says Donald Trump's Muslim ban will affect certain players.
Probably the Lakers. They're known to bomb. It's funny because the Lakers suck. And again, let's be clear here. This is this is a travel ban on predominantly Muslim countries. This is not a travel ban on people of a Muslim faith. And Trump said that over and over again. And look, you could say it's a thinly veiled ban on people of a Muslim faith, and I think there would be validity to that. But, you know, the whole thing is based on, hey, according to the Obama administration, there are hotbeds of terrorism in all these countries, and we're just gonna take a chill on this for a second before we figure out how to vet people when they get in. The vetting process, oh my gosh, I don't know. What do you do? You know, like, if you go in for a job interview, Funkhauser, because you want the job, do you lie?
No, you're never supposed to lie, ever. Sometimes you can tweak it a little bit and say that you're awesome, but that's not a lie.
Well, I mean, I don't lie about my achievements, but, you know, hey, would you like to spend hours analyzing which Metallica or Red Hot Chili Peppers songs are going to make iHeartRadio more money? I need this job, so yes, that's exactly what I would like to do. My point is, and by the way, I actually really enjoy my work. While I don't enjoy pouring through the data about the Red Hot Chili Peppers and Metallica, I do really, really love driving down the road and hearing those songs on the radio and go, this station kicks ass. I'm very happy and proud of the work that I do, you know, with regard to all that stuff. But people stretch the truth in job interviews all the time. And with the vetting process, like, we're going to come up with an extreme vetting process. What that extreme vetting process is, I got just... Who the hell? That's the part that I'm interested in seeing. It's like the flip side of all these situations. We're going to repeal and seamlessly replace Obamacare. Parts of Obamacare have been torn down every single day since before Donald Trump was president. And we're still kind of wondering what this seamless transition is going to be transitioning to. We don't know yet. And that's the flip side. Well, we're going to... We're going to stop people coming in from these countries until we can have an extreme vetting process. How are we vetting these folks is the next and very sensible question. Be curious to see how this all plays out. What else?
A federal court already struck down President Trump's Muslim ban.
Yeah. Funny thing, when Trump found out, he exploded. Go on.
The White House is discussing asking foreign visitors for social media info and cell phone contacts.
Not to monitor them, but they're going to invite them to sign up for Lyft, I believe. When you are checking into a person, like, okay, I own a place, and that place is currently being rented out. And when people apply to rent the place that I own in the past, you know what I do? I look them up on Facebook. Who is this person really? Are they out partying? You know, is there what's going on with that? Like, I don't want party animals living in my place. If you are a quiet dental student from Bangladesh, you better be that quiet dental student from Bangladesh. And by the way, that was one of the people that rented out my place. And you know what I made? I was like, ooh, student. And then I looked at their Facebook page and saw no evidence of them ever going out and doing things that involve the words chug, chug, chug. And I was more than happy to have them there. But, like, going through people's social media, not a... Do that already. Did we have to ask permission? Yeah, foreign visitor. Do we need to ask their permission to go on their Facebook page? I'm going to guess we don't. Go on. What else?
People protested the ban on Muslims over the weekend. If you were living under a rock, like I said, I see the silver lining in this situation. I see the glass as being half full. And you know what? On the bright side of Trump's presidency, the obesity rate is going to go down. Everyone's constantly marching. So there's that. Like I said, glass half full, silver lining. Go on. Paul Ryan turned 47 yesterday.
You sure it wasn't Eddie Munster? It's hard to tell sometimes. I think he had a giant cake, but only gave out slices to people without a pre-existing condition. Like, no buttercream for you, Huffy and Puffy the Clown. I don't think that'll be a happy thing for my birthday. This has been a fun show. Thank you for everything. I'll be back tomorrow. We'll do it all over again. Tweet us at ADSXE, at FunkFM. Have yourself an excellent one.